I'm Denise Hutchison, and this will probably not be a full hour. We're going to try to keep it to about 30 or 40 minutes for you. So I think in that time you'll get a very good sense of what our product can do. I encourage you to ask questions, and we'll address them periodically as they come up, and certainly open it up for Q&A at the end. I'm really just going to take you through one slide, talk a little bit about our company, and then we'll jump right into the demonstration. BizNet's been in business for a while. The product you're going to see is actually not new. Our version 1 was first developed in 2005. We're currently on a version 5, planning to release a version 6 mid-year of 2012. We have a lot of users of this product. This number's growing monthly. We've been on pretty significant growth year over the last couple of years, about 30–35%, and we'll do at least that this year. So pretty solid growth. Our first customers about 4 years ago were Mass 90, 200, and 500 clients, and they bought our product to complement and fill the reporting gaps that they had with FRX. So our roots are really strong core financials. As you'll see, the product is being extended outside of financial reporting. But since the announcement of FRX being retired, we have been selected by several other publishers in the mid-market as their FRX replacement choice, and endorsed by industry analysts like Business Finance Magazine and K2 Enterprises in particular as their choice for the best financial reporting tool in the mid-market. And we've had their quality award for the last 2 years running. We are a Microsoft shop. Our founder's an ex-auditor and a technologist today, and I think you'll see it makes for a really good combination of the product. But our product is current technology. It's all open, industry standard, nothing proprietary. What we do offer, though, is a very unique approach for how we pull data into Excel. This approach was actually re-architected about 3 years ago specifically for the Mass 90, 200 space. Most of the products in the space are really challenged bringing data into Excel as it relates to performance. And you'll see with our unique approach, you'll see that working. We'll describe it a little. We get really solid performance for Mass 90, 200. We have more Mass 90, 200 clients than anything else. Second is Mass 500. So little bit of an introduction, and now we'll jump into the demo. So as you can see here, if you guys, all of you on the line, are comfortable working in Excel, then you're going to find BizNet an extremely easy tool to learn, because this is our user interface. I just open up Excel like I normally would, and as a BizNet user, you'll see the integration is presented to me automatically. You do not need to be a Mass user to be a BizNet user. And as a BizNet licensed user, again, you can see the integration here on the left. Now, I'm showing Mass 500 today, but the integration and these are the modules we currently integrate for our Mass 500 customers: multi-currency, project counting, sales analysis, expense analysis. For Mass 90, we currently integrate obviously to the GL. We have sales analysis. Expense analysis is being released this quarter, actually this month. So we're going to continue to extend other modules. We'll actually even have an integrator next quarter that will allow you to make your own connections. So we'll, anyone really interested in getting more information on that, certainly contact ISM, and we're happy to talk about that in detail. We're going to focus on financial reporting today, in particular as an FRX replacement. So you'll see here, if I open up GL, we have templates, and we have functions for creating reports, and we have analysis sets that allows you to get to your data just without building a report, just by dragging and dropping information into Excel. This is all pre-built to the Mass systems. The nice thing about this is we run one version. So even though I'm showing Mass 500 tables or data, this is one version, and it's going to be the version 5 for Mass 90, Mass 500, no matter what platform. So when we upgrade a version or enhance a version, it's made across the board. These are just separate connector files, if you will. So your starting point is going to be your FRX reports. One of our templates, potentially, we have about 15 or 18 out-of-the-box templates that you can modify. or even an static Excel spreadsheet, we can make a BizNet report. Once you create your BizNet reports, you can manage and maintain this navigation pane. You can add any number of your own reports, organize it any way you like, rename these, reorder them, etc. So once the reports are created as a viewer, I can just open up Excel. If I want to access the income statements, I just drag and drop a report into Excel. And at the time I drag it in, it is real-time and current. The reports can all be built with things like wildcards. So this is looking at all locations, one of my segments. I can use ranges, lists, and we'll do as much of that in this demo and that we can today, and you'll get a good sense for how that works. But one of the distinctions, as I mentioned in the PowerPoint, is how we bring data into Excel. And most of the products that are out there in the marketplace that use what's called a data mart or a data warehouse. To get around performance, they make a copy of the data. You're working off of yesterday's data. Trying to do your month-end close, that can be a little challenging. Or if they go direct, like some products do, as we do, every time you change anything, whether the data changes or not, you're refreshing one cell at a time, making that many calls back out to your database, and that can be extremely slow. What BizNet did is our approach and what we've applied for patent on is when I brought in fiscal 2007, we brought in all of the balance level information, bring it in once, and then we cache it or store it in memory. Not the detail, but the balance level. We only bring in the detail as you request it. Notice the banner is going to flash when I request a new fiscal year. We now brought in all of the balance level for this fiscal 2008, but now we bring it in once, and you can see I can toggle between the 2 years without needing to go back to my database. That is unique to BizNet and makes for very efficient data retrieval. Because of that, the reports are all dynamic. If I want to make this 3-month trend a 6 or 12, I just drag and drop my column over, and the report is all dynamic. For any cell, if I want to see the detail, let's say I want to look at what makes up this total revenue number for period 3, just right-click on the cell. You'll see all your right-click options, and when I hover over drill down, you'll have a few target actions, as we call them. You can look at everything from a balance level that makes up that number, or the transaction detail in a pre-built pivot or list format. And a list is just that, a listing in Excel. The pivot is just enables you to get additional information and slice and dice it a little. So we'll select that option. And what you'll see is it's on a separate tab. Here are my counts that make up total revenue in my pivot table, my number to the penny, and when I click on the table, it opens up the GL field list. This now allows me to dynamically change my drill down view and get additional information. So if I wanted to look at, for example, the posting date, maybe the posting comments, just click on the fields that you want to see. You can slice and dice this any way you like. Maybe I want to look at this by segment, break it down by department or location. Maybe I want to look at this by my transaction type here. Maybe I want to filter any field over as a column label. I can bring any field over as maybe a report filter and like transaction date to filter on that field. So if I want to look at specific transaction dates, I can certainly do that. So you can see how it's all dynamic, and if you get a format that you prefer, you can save a new default drill down layout for yourself or for all users. And double-clicking on any one of these numbers on a subtotal or on the total line gives me on a separate sheet now all of the transaction detail in a list format. And again, this is what you would have seen had you selected the list initially on the initial drill down request. So every time I make a drill down request, it creates a new tab, which you can save or delete like any other worksheet in Excel. So what we're going to do right now is we've got a lot of different examples to share with you, but I want to just right off the bat show you how we actually create reports, because I think this is really what most people are interested in, certainly performance, but most importantly is how easy is this for me to use and how easy is it to create reports. So what we're going to actually do is we're going to actually go into FRX, and we're going to take a report on it. I'm going to take an income statement, and we're going to actually convert it from scratch so you can see the effort involved. So we can actually pull over column layouts. We can replicate any tree that you have. We don't have time to kind of go through that today, but if you go to our website, we've got an illustration of how that works. What's really key, though, and which was the majority of the effort, is bringing over the row format. So I'm going to pick an income statement Not too hard to start, but it has a range, a list, and a wildcard in the row format. So what we really need out of FRX are the accounts here, which I could just copy and paste, but we'll go ahead and just copy the entire row format. Very simply, come over here to a blank sheet and just simply paste that row format into Excel. And I don't need these control columns now, so I can just delete those. And now we've kind of got the basis for our new income statement out of FRX. And I'm going to make a few adjustments on the row format, and then we'll build out the report. So first off, out of FRX, as you know, the question mark is the wild card. So for this row for cost of goods, you can see it's all 5,000 accounts. With BizNet, it is the asterisk. I just need one asterisk, and I simply just put it in whatever digit position I want. That now equates to, in our format, all 5,000 accounts. This row here, we have a range, as you can see, and in BizNet, I just need to break those out into separate cells. So I'm going to put 7450 in one cell, 7300 in the other. And in BizNet, for your segments, any of your segments or your periods, if you specify two values of anything, it automatically defaults and assumes a range. Select 3 or more values, it assumes a list. And as you can see here, this would be a list, so I'm going to break these out into 3 separate cells. Now, if you had a longer list than this, maintaining each of these items or values in separate columns could be a little cumbersome. I'm going to show you a much easier way to create long lists, and I can reference that list in one cell. So I'll show you a better way, but for purposes of just converting this report as is, we'll just go ahead and break these into 3 separate columns. Now we're ready to build the report. And designers get access to our function set. You can see I can pull month-to-date, year-to-date, and budget data. And the functions themselves need some minimum information. I need at minimum company code. I need a valid fiscal year, valid period. And these can be anywhere in the spreadsheet. Your formatting can be completely flexible. You saw in the one initial report we opened up the demo with, I had periods in the columns. I could have companies for consolidated report, departments, years, anything you want. So anything can be in the column. Actually, anything could be in the row. Anything could be up here as a report parameter. The mechanics of building the report, as you'll see, are the same. So completely flexible formatting. If I open up the month-to-date net functions, you'll see that the functions are pretty logically named. I can pull month-to-date net, month-to-date credit, month-to-date debit, and every cell could have a different function. I can pull from different modules. So again, total flexibility. We're going to grab the month-to-date net function, just drag and drop it into this first row you want data, open it up, and now it's just a matter of identifying to BizNet where these arguments are in the spreadsheet, and we do that simply through cell reference. So click on the cell that contains the company code. You'll see it makes the cell reference, and I'm just now going to hit the function for key to do my row and column anchoring. And if anyone would like an explanation, just please submit a, ask in the chat box, and I'll explain that. But this is what's going to allow me to drag and drop this function down. So it's basically anchoring column and row, so that company code is an absolute position, always in that cell. Same with year. Same with periods. I'm hitting F4 twice. Now for my account, I'm going to anchor the column. So as I drag it down my rows, I want to keep the column constant, but not the row. If I don't specify anything for my other segments, as we're going to do for this report, it'll just take the default roll up all values for those other segments. So now we're done. We're going to click OK. That's a one-time process. That number is now live linked to my math data, and we're going to do a little formatting on the cell, round it up. And since this is the revenue account, we're going to just come up here to our formula line and simply do a times -1 to reverse the sign. Now we'll drag this down, and we can go ahead and do all our standard nice formatting in Excel. I'll add a sum function here, and we can bold all this, etc. And I won't spend a lot of time formatting. And now we're ready just to kind of copy and paste. So you can see between dragging and dropping and copying and pasting, once you build a function, the mechanics go fairly quickly. So I just took the sign reversal off, and now I've got a gross margin, which is going to be a simple Excel formula. So I'm going to basically take my net sales minus my cost of goods. And again, we're going to take our function, copy and paste it, drag it down. And again, we can apply standard Excel sum function. And notice right here I've got the range, and I could open it up and just simply select two values, or I can take a shortcut. Another function key we use a lot, which is a standard Excel function key, is F2. And F2 basically says what cells is this function referencing. It's kind of a nice check if you want to make sure you've built the function out right, but it also allows you to kind of extend what you're referencing. So I can just simply extend, and you'll see now when I drill down on that cell, it now will include that range of accounts. So, oops, come back here. And we're almost done. And again, I'm not going to spend time doing the bolding and the nice formatting. We've just got a couple of more lines or rows to finish out. This is going to be another Excel calculation. And I'm going to copy and paste my function again. And you can see here with just in a few minutes, we'll convert this report to a BizNet report. Do two more rows to complete. And hopefully everyone's tracking. I'm moving through this pretty quickly, but again, pretty straightforward to do. Copy and paste another row. And finally, one last formula. And now we're done. I would again, clean this up a little bit, do some nice formatting, certainly get rid of the grid lines potentially, add a title, and maybe even just hide or group my account numbers. And now we're done. That report can be saved off. I don't have to ever build it out again. Hopefully that looked pretty straightforward to everybody. And you can see it's all live and connected. As I put in periods, I can put in New Year's. You'll see my numbers are all changing. It's a dynamic report. As soon as you build the report or function, you have drill down capability, so there's nothing you have to set up. So a couple of things. We'll talk about lists, ranges, and wildcards here for a minute. But also going to show you very quickly that this is a month-to-date column. If I wanted to create, clean this up, a year-to-date, very simply, all the actual functions have the exact same format, which means the functions themselves ask for the same number of arguments. So once I build out a function, I can simply copy it over, and I could have dragged in a year-to-date function and rebuilt it from scratch, or I can just rename it. And now I've got a year-to-date column, and I could just simply drag these down and continue on just like I did before. So it's that simple. So that's looking at building out the reports. Notice I use the sum function, so everything that you do in Excel today will work great. The only problem with using that is I can't drill down on that total. So again, to illustrate a list capability, I'm just going to copy and paste the function down here, open it up. We're going to open it up here, and I'm going to replace the single account reference. Very simply, all I need to do is select the entire list of accounts. So just anchor it, and I put it below the sum function, so you'll see we're going to get the exact same amount, only now I can drill down on that total and see all my net sales for that period. So, and again, if I wanted to create the year-to-date, same process, just copy it, rename it, and you've got a year-to-date total. So that's the list capability. You saw the wildcard, and we did a range here. So again, pretty straightforward to do. I'm just going to show you a couple other things also. To create data validations, it's pretty simple to do. In many of our reports, we have kind of a list capability where in one place you can define groups and give them a name. So for example, where you have a row where maybe you've got 5 or 10 or more accounts, and to list those in separate cells on each report could be a little cumbersome to maintain. So we define in one place, one tab in our workbook that all the reports can reference. Here's a list. I only have 3, but we give it a name using Excel name reference, so just come over here and give it whatever name you want. You can also create your own group links. So I don't have region defined within my company, but using the location code, I've given a name called Region West and Region East. And the way that's going to be helpful is when I come back over here to my report, I'm going to open up this function here. And let's say this row is made up of a bunch of accounts called sales. In one cell, I'll just give it the name that I've defined, and you'll see it populates with all the different accounts that we had before. Same with the location. code. I can define region west, and it's going to populate with all my location codes. So a really handy feature. We use it a lot. So that's a very simple crash course on building reports, but hopefully everyone followed, and you can see it's pretty simple to learn. Once you learn how to build a function, you know, they all work the same. And we can bring in the segment description functions as well. I copied this to maintain the format here, but again, you would really just need the accounts, and you'll see all the functions work the same. So again, once you learn how to build one type of function, you've pretty much got it down no matter what you're doing. Oops. Anchor the column, and again, you can see I just dragged this down. Okay, so I'm going to kind of move on. I'm happy if there's any questions that come up to address, but we'll talk about other types of reports here. And you can do things like rolling 12-month trends. So what we've got is, you know, a 12-month crossing year, same income statement we just built, but we've made it on a rolling 12-month trend basis, added a chart that stays live and connected. So the beauty about these is you just build these reports once and you're done. The templates, by the way, are designed to have as many people accessing the same reports at the same time. You can bring this in, make any modifications. Even if they save it, they're not going to corrupt the templates for other users, so you don't really need to worry about locking down spreadsheets. They can, you know, play with the numbers. We're read-only to the mass database, so they can't break anything. If they corrupt the report, you know, and they can just drag in a new copy of it. You can bring in as many templates as you want. It just opens up another copy of Excel. So designed, again, for lots of simultaneous users accessing the same information at the same time. For those of you doing consolidated reporting, especially for Mass 90, 200, that's standard functionality. If you have one company or multiple, it's the same price, same cost for us. And really, the mechanics of building this report would be really the same. I would put my company codes here in the columns if they have the same chart. And just actually like we did the periods, you would just basically put your company codes here. You could drag the function across, it would pick up the company codes. For those where you're doing consolidated reporting with different charts, no problem. Different fiscal calendars, not a problem. These two companies have totally different charts of accounts. We're just referencing a different column. So you can see this has a 4-digit, this has a 5-digit natural. So really pretty straightforward to build, as you can see, and not a problem for us at all. So a couple of other things, we'll look at budgeting. Those of you doing budgets in Mass, show you a couple of different examples. Again, the formatting is completely up to you, but a couple of typical reports, as you see here, we've got actual versus budgets, prior year comparisons. So the idea is you're going to build this once, and the only thing you'll need to change is your report parameters here. So as I change the period, you'll see all my budget data and actual data changes. This is using the same month-to-date net function we just used for the actual current period. This is using simply the budget month-to-date net. The only difference is this is the budget function is asking me for the budget type in Mass. And as you revise or add budgets, just reference the budget type and all your numbers would automatically change. And you could certainly have your budget type sitting side by side. This is looking at the prior year month-to-date and just taking the current year -1. Standard Excel variance calculations, year-to-date net, budget year-to-date net prior year. And the only other column some of our clients like to use that I don't have here, but I should probably, is they want to calculate remaining budget or show total budget. And you can use the budget year-to-date ending balance for that. So another typical budgeting report, and this is pretty common. A lot of times prior to using BizNet, this is a manual report where they're merging some number of actual periods against a forecast or budget for the year. Again, to update this for the current period, once it's built, just drag and drop the column over, and now you've got 2 periods of actual, 10 of forecast. So you can see the reports are all dynamic. And then to reset for the new year, you just roll back your budget functions, change the budget type in the year, and you're good to go. So lastly, I'm just going to touch on this analysis sets. This is all pre-built for you. Then we're going to look at report distribution and kind of wrap it up a little bit. But if you're really working with a blank sheet and you don't have an FRX report or spreadsheet, these can be really handy because you can just come over here, and this is all pre-built to your system. You can just drag and drop and get a list of your segment 1 or what's called your main account for Mass 90. You'll be the same thing. Get your sub-ledgers and just drag and drop into Excel. It'll give you a list, and then you can leverage this list to start building reports out. Maybe you want to see your budget types by company, and you can just, again, drag that information in. So this is your setup information. So again, you don't need to go back into Mass to be able to get your information and start building reports out. The other real value is in what we call the data analysis set. So day 1, you come over here, you actually have some reporting out of the box before you build a report. You can look at balance level, transaction detail, budget reports, just by dragging lists or pivots into Excel. And I'll just drag the pivot table in. It's going to ask me for valid fiscal year. And cross-company, it's going to give me, it's almost like a trial balance out of the box. And of course, you could change the formatting and slice and dice it like according any way you want, and then look at the individual account activity. So again, all pre-built for you. So that's the analysis sets. And as you'll see here, I think as we talked about before, Excel is great for dashboarding. I've got a consolidated dashboard looking at this case multiple companies, but it could be departments, anything you build. And we've got some trend reports. Just put in the current parameters, whatever they are. So if you want to look at this by department, or your numbers will all change. So we've got some trending, some actual versus budget, and percentage of total revenue analysis there. So just, again, lastly, one last dashboard. This is actually pulling from 3 different modules into the same report, GLA, PAR, and again, all live linked. So we don't have time to look at those other modules, but you can do sales and expense analysis, and you can look at top and bottom performing areas of your company. So there's all kinds of rankings functionality. So that's kind of Biz Insight. And as I mentioned, we're going to continue to extend the inventory and other modules over the course of the year. And lastly, what I want to cover now is report distribution. So for a lot of our clients, they're doing this manually and creating PDFs, emails, and we can automate the delivery of the reports. And we have a product called Biz Broadcast. And what you're going to see here is using one workbook, I can take one set of reports and tailor the format, the content, and the method of delivery by user or by report. So I've got a cover sheet here, and I'm sending this out by location, but there's no limit to the number of parameters you can tailor the workbook by. You could send it out by company, department, location. I'm using the Excel Today function, so I could timestamp it as well if I wanted to. And standard income statement we just kind of been working with. It's a live connected report. And again, using the Excel name reference, I'm going to pass location and period through the report distribution. So this is a 3-month trend. I want to be able to just pass the parameter without having to update it in each tab. I've got a dashboard. I can have as many reports or tabs in this workbook I'm going to distribute as I need to. And the first time in to set up the distribution, you're going to come up to our toolbar. You're going to say Insert New Distribution Template. It's going to put this tab and template into the workbook. And in Excel, you'll very simply define how you want this to be distributed. You do that by specifying the format for each report. So do you want to have this report go out as a PDF, an Excel values-only spreadsheet, so whatever version of Excel that you have or they have, 2003, 7, or 10. And as a BizNet user or as a non-user, you can be on all 3 versions at the same time within your company. If you're posting out to a portal, let's say, do you want an HTML format? So what's the format? The typical ones are PDF and static spreadsheets. How do you want to send it to them? Is it a folder, an email? You can do both. You can have any number of emails in the one cell as you want. Utilize distribution lists. The only reason I need to have a different line here is because I'm sending different workbooks. Okay. You can then specify what tabs you're going to include in each report. So for example, Fred and Janet are not going to get the dashboard, just the cover sheet and income statement. If you're emailing, you can do all the things you would expect, even send other types of documents as attachments. You can do all of the above. By the way, you're not limited to one, but we'll just send text here. And now this is where you can pass your parameters. Again, I only have 2. So, for example, Fred's going to get the report just for Dallas, Janet just for Miami, Tom's going to get it all locations. So once you set this up, it's a one-time thing. You're done. The only thing you will do every period is update the current period. And we're just emailing this out. And you'll see my outbox is empty, and it's offline, so we can take a look at them, but actually they would be sent normally. So distribution, when you're ready, is a single click of the button, and it will generate those reports based on those parameters and publish them out for you. And we'll take a look at those. And here's our emails, and you can see Fred got the Dallas report in a PDF format. Here's his cover sheet tailored, and here's his Dallas report. Notice that the 3-month trend was updated as well. And then we'll just look at Tom's here. He got all locations in an Excel spreadsheet. So here's his cover sheet tailored. Here's his values only static report, and he got the dashboard. So that's our biz broadcast. So questions. This is kind of what I think we were going to try to keep this to about 30 minutes or so. So they're happy to review anything, open it up for any questions that anyone might have.
I have a question.
Yes.
Currently, this function only for ARAP, not ready for the inventory. But in the future, we can use this function for inventory module, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So currently,
yep, it'll all, yes.
How about like a SO or PO module?
We're PO module. We'll be adding modules over the course of the year. Our goal is by the end of 2012 to have all of the core modules done. But we are going to have an integrator. So let's say we don't get to a certain module, or we, you know, you might have some tables or something you want to be able to do. That we will have an integrator that will allow ISM or BizNet to be able to easily build connectors without, you know, very easily.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be, you'll be able to, and the intention of that will be you might have a unique payroll data source or some unique data source that you want to pull information in along with your mass data.
Okay. Because I'm thinking we will use this function for like a sales by customer, like a purchase by vendor, also like a
yeah, and yeah, so you know,
something like that.
Yeah, you've got all kinds of, again, we don't have time, but these are all the functions, and we've got all kinds of, you know, you can do all kinds of rankings, and, you know, this is customer sales rankings, month to date, year to date, and I'm looking at the top 10. I could look at my top 20. But these are all the functions. I can pull sales and do customer analysis, you know, by week, by month, by quarter. And these are all just some of the rankings features. So I can look at salesperson, territory, item, product line. And within the function, you can see if I open up the function here, there's a lot of fields that I can analyze. So customer fields, user-defined, salesperson, territory, product line. There's a lot in here that you can build reports from. So the same with AP is you do vendor and expense information. So we'll have the same pre-built content. So notice we have templates, functions, and again, the analysis sets. These are all pre-built reports out of the box for you. Oh. So we'll be doing that for each of the modules. Hopefully that answered your question a little bit.
So this comes from AR module, right? Sales comes from AR
yes.
module?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
So currently we already have we can set up the report, like sales by customer. So
yes,
now,
definitely do sales by customer.
We already have. Okay. So inventory will be hopefully by the end of 2012.
I'm sorry, what?
The inventory one will be 2012.
Inventory is scheduled for next year. I don't have a time frame on that, but that's definitely one of the most requested modules. And we're kind of first doing AP right now, and I suspect AP will, inventory will follow AP.
Okay. Thank you very much.
We have a lot of Mass 90 clients that want inventory. So.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question. Any others?
All right, looks like we have a couple in the chat window down here. First is from Wendy. It says, I send reports by projects. Can we create by projects, which is the third segment in my GL?
Sure. Absolutely. If it's, again, that's the beauty about it. Is when you set it up as a separate segment, you've got all that flexibility. So coming back over here, let's look at the GL function. You can definitely, well, I'll just bring in the income statement back that we had. This could certainly be set up by project. So when you distribute the report out, actually here, we set it up by location, but I could certainly have project distribute this by project, if that makes sense. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. And then next up from David, he wants to know, is there a rolling 12-month report for the balance sheet?
I don't know if we have a rolling 12-month for the balance sheet, but we certainly could create one. You saw we did the rolling 12-month trend. We've got a lot of rolling trend templates that you can use. And here I've just got a balance sheet that compares year over year. You could certainly break this out and make it a 12-month trend, just like we did the income statement. There's no limitations on that. I don't know if we have a template that'd be very easy to create.